Tell him, McCluskey. Tell him what time it is.
Little Hen says it's time to rock and roll.
All you people are so scared of me.
Come quietly or there will be trouble.
Man, that's just me.
I'm Batman.
This is Sparta!
There is a tiger in the bathroom!
I'm an excellent driver.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
Pop quiz, hotshot.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
Take this to defend yourself. It's a powerful weapon. Guard it well. Only use it in times of severe distress.
This is a pen. This is a pen.
Welcome back to this week's Monday Movie Show. This is the Blu-ray and DVD section of the show. If you're listening to us live, hello, welcome back. If you're listening to us in podcast world, hello. We have a lot of films to review this week. They are
the Sundance film, I think it was Sundance, Compliance, which is a weird film. We'll get to in a moment. Tom Cruise is back in Oblivion. Ed Harris stars in Phantom. Scary Movie 5, a weird little film called Bernie. And then we have Aftershock, which is the latest presented by Eli Roth movie. We have a bizarre Kevin Spacey movie called Inseparable, Sawney, Flesh of Man, and Battle Spaceship Yamato.
And on top of that, we have the TV movie of the week and the Blu-ray/DVD top 10. So let's kick off with that.
Starting at number 10 with Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief.
Before I quickly mention that, I just want to mention that we didn't get to review the Seasoning House last week. Me and Andy has actually finally seen it. Unfortunately, it didn't even make it in the combined top 10 or top 40. It didn't even make it in the DVD top 40.
No, I mean, I think as well, I think it's rather annoying. I think it's not been available at all retailers, because I've seen it in some and in others I've not seen it in, and it's been very odd if you can get hold of it as well. A lot of them have it listed as sold out, though I wonder if they ever actually got it or not.
I found it in the three-letter worded retailer for only $6.99 on DVD. They didn't have the Blu-ray in. And so that was the reason why I got it, but it's just a shame. It could have been distributed much better. But Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief, it's much better than the sequel. This one did try to be like an old-fashioned 80s adventure film, and it succeeded in that because it is such a fun adventure film. They go across the globe, and it feels like a full-on adventure, like it should have been. It's entertaining.
Number 9 is G.I. Joe Retaliation.
This is not entertaining at all. It's terrible.
That's it. Number 8 is Dark Skies.
It's average. It's average at its best. It doesn't dip below average. So if you're after a movie where it passes away in 90 minutes, you might find a couple of cheap scares in it. Then this is not too bad for that.
Number 6 is skipping number 7 is Jack the Giant Slayer at number 7.
It's a complete terrible film until it gets to the last 20 minutes. It rescues itself in the last 20 minutes, and it should have been like the final bit of the movie. If it was like that, then this would have been an extremely entertaining adventure romp kind of film. It isn't. You have to suffer through 70 minutes to get to the good stuff.
Number 6 is Django Unchained.
We've said everything we can about this film. It's a really, really good acted film, apart from Quentin Tarantino.
Which is true. I just wasn't expecting that. At number 5, new entry for Spring Breakers,
which is much higher than I thought it would have gone. I think a lot of people have looked at the front cover, including one friend of mine. He looked at the front cover and he was just actually going to buy it from the front cover alone. It's a very deceptive front. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of supermarkets get complaints and they have to do exactly the same to this DVD cover as they're having to do with Nuts magazine or something like that. Put it behind like a black covering or something. But the film itself is terrible, apart from 2 scenes, which I thought was very well done. But it's just a typical Harmony Korine movie. He's a terrible director.
Number 4 is The Jungle Book,
which was last week's number 1. The only reason why I went in number 1 last week is because it was re-released on Blu-ray. Released on Blu-ray for the first time, re-released on DVD. It's a brilliant Disney movie. It's Disney at their best.
And number 3 is Despicable Me, which won't bother going into any further. Number 2 is a new entry for The Place Beyond the Pines,
which is nice to actually see it that high up on the chart. It's another movie that I didn't expect to get in the top 5, and 2/3 of the film is really well made. It suffers in 1/3 of the movie. It bleeds when it bleeds from the second story into the third one. That's when it starts to suffer a lot. I felt the middle section of the movie was the weakest part of the film. But Ryan Gosling is brilliant in it as well. In it, Bradley Cooper, he's brilliant in it, but his character isn't given enough.
Enough, I think you could say enough to do or something.
No.
You kind of stopped mid-sentence as far as I can.
No, I didn't. That's the way I was going to stop.
Okay.
He hasn't been given enough.
Okay, and the new entry at number 1 this week is Evil Dead.
Which is no surprise to me at all that Evil Dead was going to go into number 1.
I don't think it's earned though, really.
It didn't. Well, considering that it wasn't going up against a lot of big films anyway, it didn't. I forgot what I was going to say now. You knocked me off my train of thought. Fede Alvarez, what he said he was going to do, he's going to bring horror back to where it should have been, and he didn't actually go up on his promise. I was thinking something along those lines anyway, but yeah, he didn't deliver on his promise. That's it. The last 15 minutes of the movie shows you what the film should have been like. There is a lot of gore, there's a lot of nasty scenes in the film. It just doesn't fully fulfill those scenes.
I'd say actually, if you want something that's more gory and more terrifying than that, then get the Seasoning House.
Actually, no. The Evil Dead is much more gorier than the Seasoning House. The Seasoning House is it is. It's definitely much more gorier than the Seasoning House, but the Seasoning House is very unsettling.
Yeah.
Right, we're going to go to an ad break, and after that we'll have our first of 9 reviews.
Hey folks, it's Al the Bald Gamer Dude from Menage a Geek Podcast, and I'm here to ask you, what do you want in a podcast? Is it talking? Is it funny stuff? Is it two guys and a girl having a chat? Is it video game news? Is it movie news? Is it TV stuff? Is it just geek all out your ears and into your brain? If it is, then why are you not listening to us? We're on Spreaker, we're on Stitcher, we're on iTunes, we're on Twitter, all Menage a Geek. Menage a Geek. Listen to us.
Right, welcome back. We better get into our reviews then.
We'll go straight into Compliance, which is it's a weird thriller from director Craig Zobel, who also wrote it, based on true incidents of things that happened in it was about 30 odd different chains of several fast food restaurants in America. Not specifically one that you might be thinking, but several different ones. You have this whole thing of that there is a situation of people working at a diner, they're going about their everyday normal thing, when there's a call made to the place, and the manager receives a call from someone who is then saying they are a police officer and telling them, I'm a police officer, I've had reports that someone has actually stolen money, someone who works at your diner has stolen money from a customer. Can you then bring this person in and speak with them so we can try and figure out what's going on with this? Here's a clip.
Becky, I've got the police here on the phone saying you stole money from a customer.
What?
They're saying you took it out of a woman's purse.
I didn't steal anything at all.
Hold on. Hello, officer?
I swear I didn't take anything at all.
Hold on.
Do you have Becky?
Hello? Yes, I do.
What is she saying?
She's saying she didn't take anything.
Put her on for me, please.
Just a minute.
Hello?
Becky, I'm Officer Daniels. I'm going to need you to answer a few questions for me, okay?
Okay, that's fine. Okay.
I have a woman here that says you took money out of her purse. We also have one of my
I didn't take anything at all, sir. I don't...
We also have one of my surveillance units backing up her claim. You want to clear this up for me?
I swear I didn't take anything. I couldn't have done anything like that. That doesn't make it... I'm sorry, but that just doesn't even make sense at all.
Right.
Okay, so eventually then things kind of spiral out of control because of the fact that the girl was detained. She's then she's strip searched by her manager and another member of staff, and then things even spiral more out of control from there, going into really dark territory from then onwards. It's a really weird thing because it's first of all it's kind of obvious, and it says based on a true story at the start of it, based on true events, and there was things that you knew about it. I knew about it before going into it. It's been quite sort of publicized when this was released in the cinema, given a very small release. And the thing watching it, because I was watching it and I'm going, okay, this is really uncomfortable to watch at certain points, which it should be. because it goes into, as I say, very dark territory of things that happen. But then at the same time, it's seriously one of these things of that this is based on true events, and I looked into it further, and this is based on true events, and I cannot believe that this actually happened. You cannot believe events like this actually happened, and that people didn't question it. And that, for me, is one of the biggest problems I have with it. Not a problem of the film, but a problem of the story, because it's true and things that happened. And it's one of those weird things of art imitating life, but you couldn't make it up if you tried. And that, for me, is where it didn't work, which is kind of a weird way to say that I think it's a very well put together film. I think it's a very good film, but I think that it's terrible as a film because of the fact of that if you were watching it and you didn't know it was a true story, you watch it and you go, oh, come on, who made this up? Seriously? Really? You would be asking yourself that every 10 minutes along in the film. And I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, but that is one of the things that really annoyed me and took me out of it.
The way I saw the film when I watched it, it is really uncomfortable to watch, and like you said, it needs to be uncomfortable.
I can't imagine what it would be like sitting in the cinema with people around, because there's scenes in it where you could just imagine someone coughing and everyone would be, oh.
Yeah, you really need to sort like the way the director's trying to tell the story is he's trying to put you in the shoes of the victim, and you need to be really uncomfortable. I agree with you in part where the fact that the more the movie goes on, the more it starts to become more fantastical rather than reality. It feels like you're thinking to yourself, how can the people in this fast food chain actually think that what's going on is the correct procedure? That the person on the phone, what he's saying for them to do is the correct way of going about it, because that could never happen. It should never happen. You would instantly think that somebody is abusing their power if they tell them to do a full strip search, if they tell them to do exactly what was done on this girl in the movie itself. You would instantly think that there's something seriously wrong, and you would put down the phone rather than keep on the phone and believe what this guy is saying. You would tell him, oh, you've got to show up at this at the fast food place and do everything yourself because it's your job, not mine, to do that. You can't give me the authority to do that. And it becomes, like I said, more fantastical rather than believable, but it is still an interesting film to watch.
Yeah, I think one of these cases where if they're making a film, occasionally if it's based on a true story, I mean, they have creative license that a lot of them will take and luxuries in doing things. I actually think they should have taken more liberties with this film to have it be more of an effective film and not have you questioning it so much when you're watching it.
Yeah, exactly. Right, next film up is Oblivion. It's directed by Joseph Kosinski, which we mentioned him in the news story in the cinema section of the show. If you listen to us back on podcasts, then download that. Give that a good listen. It stars Tom Cruise, who plays Jack, and Andrea Riseborough, who plays Victoria. They both live in this station which is set above the Earth. It's set in 2077, where the entirety of the Earth's population, well, practically the entirety of the Earth's population, has evacuated the planet because these aliens destroyed the moon, which in turn destroyed the sort of like gravity of the planet, etc. So humans have had to leave the planet. They released all their nuclear weapons on the planet. They've headed for Titan, which is the moon, one of the moons of Jupiter.
Yeah,
I'm probably good. I was hoping that I got that right because I didn't write that actually down. And so they've escaped to that. And these two people who are on Earth, it's their last couple of weeks. Jack, he's sort of like the maintenance guy. He looks after the robots who patrol this planet to try and get to keep the planet safe, because there's these huge, massive stations which suck up the water, which is supposedly send them to Titan. During one of his routine inspections, he discovers this ship that crash lands onto the Earth. There is only one survivor after the group of patrolling robots supposedly kills everybody else. This survivor is played by Olga Kurylenko, who plays Julia, and information and visions and things like that start to come into Jack's head, and he starts to remember things involving her character. Here's a clip.
I want to go on first thing.
Vika, do you have any memories before the mission? Before the scary one?
Our job is not to remember. Remember?
Do you remember her?
Jack, that was a scav, a beacon that brought her down. We don't know who she is. Or what she is.
So more and more, Jack starts to get more visions, etc., and he starts to think that something is going on. Now, I'm not going to give any more of the storyline away. You need to follow the storyline yourself. For me, with Oblivion, it's fantastically shot. I've got to admit that. It's really nicely shot. The music is just sensational, to be honest. It is the best soundtrack that I've heard this year, by far. There still hasn't been a soundtrack which I think is impactful as this one. The way the soundtrack plays it has a good mixture of different sounds, and it's just brilliant. So you need to listen to the soundtrack. And the first 25...
I was just going to say, also, the Blu-ray has got the isolated score in surround sound as well, which sounds even better, believe it or not.
Yeah, I'm getting some absolutely top-end headphones in a couple of days' time, so I'm going to listen to the soundtrack on that to just experience it. But for the first 25-30 minutes of this movie, I loved it. I thought it was brilliantly shot. I thought the character development between Jack and Victoria was fantastic. I thought it flowed nicely. It looked nice, lovely. Like I said, the music was brilliant. And I thought this movie is going to be one of those special kind of films, a bit like Moon or something like that. That was the way it played out. Unfortunately, it completely obliterates that and becomes such a generic film in the last 2/3 that it feels like a copycat of loads of other movies. We've gone on about, over the last few weeks, about films being checklisted. This one, it takes a hell of a lot of movies and just keeps on checklisting scenes from different films. Watch it yourself and see if you can come up with lots of different other films, which is this kind of ilk. And so, for the first, I would say, a quarter of the movie, it's brilliant. The last 3 quarters of the film, it's just very generic, which is just a pity.
I'm just going to add to it. I really enjoyed this. I absolutely loved it. I saw it as well in IMAX, and the IMAX version, I wish they'd put that on the Blu-ray because it's a wider image. It would have been a full screen on a television, and it looked amazing. But even without that, it is still an amazing looking. It's one of these ones that it'll be like, have you seen anything on Blu-ray in HD? No? Okay, stick that on and show them that. Great sound, great picture, looks amazing. Not necessarily the most original of stories, but for me, it was more than the sum of its parts, which I really liked. And I've seen it a couple of times now, and I've really enjoyed it each time. So I think it is a little bit more predictable, especially if you know science fiction, but I wouldn't let that put you off, because if you like science fiction, then you will like this.
I just wish Joseph Kosinski stuck with the first quarter of the film, because I know you've sent me a message in Skype about mentioning the film Moon, but I'm just saying it felt more like Moon. And so the way, because Moon is such a small contained movie, and the way the first 30 minutes of the film played out, it felt like that kind of contained movie, and we were going to get a film where it's just about the relationship between two characters and how they are spending their last couple of weeks and going to meet up with the rest of the human population. The fact that they're excited at doing that, and I really like the way that was done. It's a pity that the last 3 quarters of the film doesn't stick with that.
Okay, I'm going to go on to Phantom, which is a movie from director Todd Robinson. It's following a group of soldiers in the 1960s aboard a Russian submarine. At the start of the movie, they have just returned after being out at sea for quite an extended period of time. Their captain, played by Ed Harris, is brought to one of his superior's officers, who is played by Lance Henriksen, who gives him a talk about the fact that they want to send him back out there because of the fact that there is an important mission coming up. Here's a clip.
Squadron command is insisting on the most experienced captain and crew available.
I'm being retired, remember? You should know that. Your signature's all over the transfer. Even if I wasn't, my boat will be in dry dock for months.
You won't be sailing your boat. You'll be sailing the B-67.
The irony is a bit excessive, don't you think?
Under the circumstances, we were unable to get all of your crew back from holiday. Naturally, they'd be replaced. The 6-7's being decommissioned. Considering your history, Command wanted to honor you with our last patrol.
Honor me?
The Navy's an unforgiving place. We're both proof of that.
What'll happen to her after? Will they cut her up in Polyarny or just let her bleed rust in Murmansk?
She'll be stripped of her sensitive equipment, refitted for a new life in the Chinese Navy.
I'd rather see her on the bottom than sold to our enemies.
So the captain and his crew are sent back out with a few replacements and some additional men on board, a group of people led by David Duchovny's character, who are there with some kind of mysterious equipment that's been attached to the hull of the ship. And the ship then heads out underwater. Because of the fact of though that they're underwater, they're in this enclosed situation, which is very sort of claustrophobic at points. Things start to sort of rivalries start to sort of build up between the people, and eventually there is the risk of a mutiny happening, and the whole thing of the crew and the captain and these other people all sort of challenging each other for that. Here's the thing with Phantom. It was released in the cinema in the US. It's a small film, but it was released and did quite poorly in the cinema. It was released on DVD, did okay as well. It's been released here straight on video, and unfortunately, I have to agree, that is where it belongs. It is not a cinematic film. It is quite well shot, but it doesn't have a cinematic feel to it. It does have a straight-to-video vibe about it. There's good performances. It's quite well put together. There's okay sort of underwater effects of the ship that you see. They're not especially brilliant at times, but they work in it. And you've got also, I mean, in the cast, you've got William Fichtner, who's a great actor. You've got Sean Patrick Flannery, who's a good actor as well. And you've got sort of a few other recognisable faces along the way if you've seen a fair number of films. But the problem is that it does claim to be based on a true story, which it kind of does the perfect storm thing where it kind of makes up a whole load of it. And it's got a problem that it's very uneven in the pacing. It runs along, has something rapidly happen, then all of a sudden stops and everyone decides to talk a minute, and then it starts to ramp up again, and it's very, very poorly constructed in that way. But one thing I really did like about it is the way it's shot, that it is very claustrophobic sense. It feels like it is actually aboard a small Russian submarine because everyone's in close quarters, everyone's having to sort of dodge each other as they walk past them in the tight spaces, and that I did really like about it. But unfortunately, just the rest of it for me, I was very disappointed. I'd been looking forward to seeing this, and when I did, it was unfortunately a bit of a letdown.
It's got an $18 million budget.
Yeah, it's not a big budget, and it is a small film, but there's just more that could have been done with it, and it really needed tightening up with the writing of it as well. Because the thing is, it's not especially long for a film. It's only 98 minutes long, but it feels a lot longer because of these moments where it just stops. It really the narrative just really stops. There's a sequence where you have the captain and the first officer sitting in a room and they're talking privately, and it could have been taken out because it has no bearing on the film.
Right, quickly get on with Scary Movie 5, and I mean quickly. It's directed by Malcolm D. Lee, and Simon Rex returns there from Scary Movie 3 and 4. It's got Charlie Sheen and Mike Tyson in it as well. It follows the same storyline as Mama, so if you know the storyline of that, the two girls who are found in a cabin and they come back to the house, strange things start to happen. It follows lots of other movies as well. Here's a clip from a part that it follows a book.
I'm Jodie Sanders.
Yes, my dear. I've been expecting you. Please, come in.
They call me Christian Grey.
How do you like my blue room?
It's red.
Oh, I'm colorblind. My decorator assured me that... Never mind. Champagne?
Hey, Christian, man, golly, man. I'd like to thank you a lot, man, for working on my prostrate like it was a speed bag.
Yes, Michael, I must admit, I was surprised at your performance as well. Not bad for a washed-up, overweight, facially tattooed... Do it again.
So that clip you heard there was taken from 50 Shades of Grey, and like I said, it takes a lot from loads of other movies, and like other Scary Movie movies, it's atrocious, this. it tries to be funny by taking so many things from loads of other movies. As a matter of fact, it was parodying Evil Dead before Evil Dead came out. And there's a few scenes which involves Evil Dead and sort of like gives away a lot of Evil Dead, which if I was the director, if I was Fede Alvarez, I would have sued them. But yeah, it's atrocious. To be honest, this film did quite well at the box office, which surprised me. And when I went to see it at the cinema, there was a lot of people in the cinema laughing, and I was thinking, does my cinema put drugs on their popcorn? Because it felt like they must have drugged everybody's popcorn or their drink to make them laugh at such a horrendous film like this. To call it a comedy is doing it a favour. To call it a film is doing it a favour. To call it a mess is doing it right. Because it is an absolute mess, and the Scary Movie series should just be killed right now. Like the Paranormal Activity movies, which we're not going to get one... Well, we're getting 2 next year, unfortunately. But this, it should be just ended right now. The parody movie is dead.
Can I just ask you, did you get at all what the weird Hoover Party sequence was about?
No, it was just them going, oh, we've got an idea about Hoovers. Let's throw it in there, why not? We're just slapstick and crazy like that.
I'm sure that's from like a YouTube video or an advert or something, but it's literally like a whole 3 or 4 minutes of the film, and you just literally sit there going, what?
Yeah, it's just atrocious. Yeah, I think I was going, what, during the entirety of the movie, is to say, why the hell am I here?
Bernie, which is another. I've got loads of true story films this week. It's another one based on a true story. It's directed by Richard Linklater. And it stars Jack Black as Bernie, a man who is, in the movie, he basically is a mortician, and he's very skilled at what he does. He's kind of famous for being a very good mortician, and he ends up befriending this old lady played by Shirley MacLaine, who is I'm not sure if she's a divorcee, or I can't remember if she's a divorcee or if she's a widower. I think it's a widower, but she's a very well-off widower, and he becomes basically her friend, and then becomes kind of a lot more closer than that, and it's kind of questionable as to how close their relationship is. Things though start to get a bit weird when she becomes very possessive of him, and him and her become very sort of combative of each other, and there's things and examples of things like that happening, as you'll hear in this clip.
What happened with Carl?
I got rid of him. I caught him red-handed. God knows what else he's been stealing from me, Bernie.
He says he was going to get it fixed.
That's what he says.
Well, I don't think Carl
And those flowers he supposedly planted, they're supposed to bloom 2 weeks ago. He is a lazy good-for-nothing. The man's never done anything.
I don't think that he would ever do anything
Why are you sticking up for his kind?
Marjorie, you're making it very hard to be your friend. I'm going to come back some other time.
Oh, just go ahead, desert me. Just like everybody else. Go ahead. Go. You hate me.
Marjorie, I am not going to take part in this argument. You know I don't hate you, and that's fair.
I know you hate me.
No.
Like everybody else.
So then things aspire even more out of control when it appears that Bernie has taken things a step further, and things then go into really the realm of bizarre. But again, it is based on a true story. Even the tagline of the movie is, "A story so unbelievable it must be true," and it really is. So the thing with Bernie is that it's a very odd film. Jack Black is very odd in it, but intentionally so. He's a very weird character, and it's played very weirdly, but very straight as well, and not for laughs, but just in a very serious but odd way. You have Shirley MacLaine, who is absolutely brilliant in her scenes. As you heard there, she goes absolutely crazy. Matthew McConaughey is in the film as well, in sort of a small supporting role where he's investigating Bernie and weird surroundings of their relationship and stuff. And the thing is, it kind of works okay. I mean, it works better on the small screen than it does in the cinema. In the cinema, it's weird, but it's okay. And on a small screen, it has this more personal qualities to it, and it works a lot better. And it's okay, but I think it's not going to be to everyone's taste, because some people will be watching it and going, "What's going on? Really? This happened?" Even more so than with Compliance, because of the fact that it's just so dumb. You'd be so dumbfounded by the end of the film. It's like, this really happened? And it's like, yeah, weird.
Right, we have 15 minutes left to get through 4 films, so we're going to have to speed roll through these ones. Aftershock. It's directed by Nicholas Lopez. It's written and produced and starring Eli Roth. So it's not an Eli Roth presents film. He's wrote it, he stars in it, and he produced it.
I think I know where this is going.
Yeah, it centres around him and a group of friends who have gone to Chile on holiday. He's a geeky kind of person who just wants to take photographs of everything. They've met up with a few women. Then in a nightclub, an earthquake happens, and these prisoners escape from this prison and cause just mayhem. The film itself is on for 80 minutes. It takes 45 minutes before the earthquake happens. Now, if you've got a movie that's called Aftershock, you expect the things to happen after the earthquake. They don't happen until around the 50-minute mark when the prisoners have escaped. And it's just, the movie itself, I don't know how it managed to get made. I don't know why Eli Roth thought that what he wrote was a brilliant idea. This would have been better as a short, a 2-minute short to be exact, because they could have used 1 minute for the earthquake happening, the last minute for the insanity to happen. That would have been a much better film than sitting through 90 minutes of an absolute atrocity. I can't even say the word.
Atrocity?
That's it, yeah. 90 minutes of atrocity like this. It's just Eli Roth, he's lost the plot. He's literally has completely lost the plot. And I don't think I'm going to be interested in anything else that he decides to write. And act. He's just as bad as Quentin Tarantino, to be honest.
Okay, I'm going to go quickly through Inseparable, which is directed by Diane Egg. I'm not making it up. It's Dayyaneng, actually, Diane Egg. It is a Chinese-made film largely, although the fact that it has Kevin Spacey in the movie. The movie follows Daniel Wu's character, who is, at the start of the movie, he's actually going to commit suicide. This is the very opening, so it's not a spoiler. Things are not going quite well for him because of circumstances that you find out happened to him and his wife in previous months before the film starts. And when he's about to actually hang himself, there's a knock at the door, and it's Kevin Spacey's character who introduces himself, and the two of them sort of bond and become friends because he sees that Lee, Daniel Wu's character, is going to hang himself. It's very weird because it switches back and forth between English when Kevin Spacey's character is around, but then is Chinese and set in Hong Kong, I believe, for the entirety of the rest of the film. So it's a weird film because of the fact that it's got Kevin Spacey in there and his character that he plays. It's a very well put together film, but if you've seen other films, we're talking about things like Oblivion, which it references other films. This does a similar thing. It references a few other films, and if you've seen a few of the other films and you recognise the signs in this one, you will see where this is going well ahead of time. It does run for an hour and I think it's an hour and 40 minutes, an hour and a half, 35 minutes. And it kind of needed to be a bit trimmed so that you don't see that coming. There's this really weird thing as well that happens later on where the two of them kind of band up as weird superheroes, not really superheroes though, and go and hold up a guy played by Peter Stormare and get him to dress up in a nappy. And it's just weird. It's so weird and odd. But I mean, it's not a bad film. I was certainly expecting it to be a lot more than this because of the fact it's got Kevin Spacey in it. So in that regard, it's a bit disappointing. But I mean, it's a perfectly fine film. It's not a bad film. It's just I was disappointed because of that fact.
Right then, next film is Sawney Flesh of Man. This was shown at last year's Fright Fest. They didn't find a distributor for it to go in cinemas, and so it's actually just been thrown straight out onto DVD. It's directed by Ricky Wood, and it's supposedly based on a true story. It's based on a Scottish cannibal called Sawney. He's and his descendants who've lived in these caves in the Highlands of Scotland, and they kidnap women, anybody actually to be honest, and used for their food. It's now set in present day where Sawney, he's got his mother there who's sort of like an inbred character, and the rest of the family, they are complete inbreds. And he uses a taxi to kidnap women, men, etc., and use them for their food. And there's this reporter who's reported on what Sawney's doing and trying to actually investigate what's going on. Now, I was interested in this film for a couple of reasons. One, because it's a small little British horror film, and so British horror films need to have a bit of a forefront. And two, it was just a kind of movie where I was expecting to have a lot of gore and be quite enjoyable. One of those two things is correct. There is a lot of gore in the movie. It's not enjoyable, unfortunately. The character of Sawney is really nasty. There is a scene in the first 5 minutes of the movie where he does something with a pig's hoof, which you do not want to see anybody do with a pig's hoof, even if the pig's hoof is not attached to the pig. So it's really nasty, and sort of like it fully lays out what Sawney is as a character. He's despicable. Everything that he does, he thinks he's doing it for God, and that he believes that eating the flesh of man or woman brings him more closer to God. It's extremely gory, it's extremely nasty, but that's where the niceties of the film ends. It's just not very well acted, it's not very well made. It's just very, very, very below average, to be honest.
The last movie I've got is Space Battleship Yamato, which I think I called it Battle Spaceship Yamato earlier. I got it wrong, but it is directed by Takahashi Yamazaki.
Bless you, and bless you again.
I'm just thinking that sounded quite sort of right there. And it's based on it's a live action version of the anime, which was from I think it was a multi-part thing. I don't know the original, but I know of the original. It's a live action, big special effects film about that, which is kind of similar to if you saw the film Wing Commander, the film version of the game of that. Is a very. God. I kind of like Wing Commander. And the thing is, with this, I mean, it's the similar kind of thing. It's more the similar kind of thing. Cheesy dialogue, even though it's in subtitles in Japanese. It's got really sort of good-looking but cheap special effects. It has very sort of rough story points, and then sequences where it just stops and characters just kind of stand around looking like they're almost winking at the camera like, hey, I'm doing something that's kind of like Star Trek. And you have these moments as well where the actors, because some of the actors are not particularly good in it. But, I mean, it's the biggest problem is it is 2 hours and 12 minutes in length, which is far too long. It's about half an hour longer than it needs to be. And sequences in it to do with the captain who has a problem that he's dying of some illness. It's all about the fact that people are trying to save the Earth because it's being attacked by this alien race, and they're basically humans going to be extinct in about a year, they reckon. And this is the final battleship that they've got, which they can then send off on a secret mission. And it's just kind of a patch job movie put together, and it's weird. It's not brilliant. It's the kind of thing that if you know live action anime, live action manga, you know what to expect. You're probably going to like it if you like those kind of things, but everyone else probably stay away from it because you'll sit there going, what is this about, really? Why am I watching this? It's bizarre. It's cult fun, but it's just weird and not for everyone. Definitely not for everyone.
Do you get any of the weird scenes where you just get them going, and their big wide eyes are going, oh?
No, it's not that, but you get these weird scenes where they're basically sort of, it's like it's the school of acting of they're on the bridge and something happens and they go look, and it's just a wide shot of everyone looking and just pointing at something, and then it cuts to a shot and you can see what it is, and it's just like, it's like, you know, 5-year-olds acting.
Oh look, rock, and then you stand there pointing.
Yes, you could probably put that subtitle on it and it would work.
Awesome. It sounds like a do your own kind of film.
It kind
you just
of
get
is,
loads of friends around, have loads of drinks, and then just act it out yourself while it's on.
It is, but that's why it's kind of good, and it's great if you like that kind of thing. It's the perfect kind of film you could have had. What was that? Mystery Science Theater 3000. It's the perfect film you could have had on for that while everyone's drinking, having a laugh, and basically just criticise and take the mickey out of from start to finish, and you would have hundreds of material.
They're normally quite fun, those kinds. Record it for YouTube and bung it up on there. Might be interesting.
Yeah.
Right, that's it for the reviews for this week. Let's go to TV movie of the week. I know you've got one.
I've got The Mechanic, which is the remake of the one. It's the one with Jason Statham, but it's a remake of the one with, I've forgotten his name. How can I forget his name? Death Wish. Charles Bronson.
Charles Bronson.
Yeah, how can I forget his name? It's a remake of the one with Charles Bronson. It's the modern one with Jason Statham. I believe it's their premiere on Channel 4. Sunday the 25th of August at 9 p.m.
And mine is Pan's Labyrinth. It's it's directed by Guillermo del Toro. It's on Film 4 at 1 a.m. on the Friday the 23rd, 1 a.m. in the morning, or if you want me, It's actually Saturday morning, the 24th.
Can you believe I have that on Blu-ray? I still have not seen it yet.
I love the film. I deem it this sort of like it's a trilogy of movies with The Devil's Backbone, this, and even though The Orphanage is not directed by Guillermo del Toro, I still believe The Orphanage has got that kind of feel to it anyway.
I've got to sit down sometime and watch the whole thing. I've seen bits of it, but just never really seen it.
Yeah, so I highly recommend Pan's Labyrinth. I love, and the night before actually, Julia's Eyes is on, so I highly recommend that film as well. That's an amazing film. Right, few shout outs. Go to our website, mondaymovieshow.co.uk. See, you messed it up at the start of the cinema section. I'm messing it up at the end of the Blu-ray and DVD section. So go to our website, mondaymovieshow.co.uk. I've just thrown up a trailer there from the company Bad Robot, which is owned by J.J. Abrams, called Stranger. Give that a watch. It's very weird. It's got a tentative title of Stranger. It doesn't pop up as Stranger on the clip itself, but give it a watch. I highly recommend that. So, and you can find Andy does a lot of reviews on the site, more so than I think he should, to be honest, because he's taken a little bit of thunder away from me because I haven't written a review since Evil Dead. So,
get writing then.
I'm too busy at the moment to be able to do that.
But I haven't. That's why. I haven't done one for Two Guns or for Planes this week because I did one for Kick-Ass. Then over the weekend, I haven't had a chance to get writing.
Yeah, but I've got a couple of ideas brewing in my head what I can actually do to make up for doing that. But keep an eye out on the website and on Twitter at Monday Movie Show. I'm at Cryptic Tadpole, Andy's at EHDVD. You can also find all of our information on Facebook and YouTube and iTunes as well. You've got Following the Nerd, which goes out on a Thursday. Check their website, followingthenerd.com. Menage a Geek, which is hosted by Al, or the Bald Gamer Dude. That goes out every week, but he hasn't done a show this week. You've got From Page to Screen with the number 2 in that, which is hosted by Stuart. Andy did a show with him last night. A British Movie Show. I do a show with him on Sunday with Anthony Alex, who does The Angry Mailman, so you can find him on Twitter as well. You've got the Serum Foundation, check them out, serumfoundation.org.uk. It's a charity that we support. And Expedition Movie on Twitter. Follow them. They've got a live stream coming up in about 20 minutes time. Check their Twitter feed. You'll find the link doing that. They're trying to get donations together to make the film that they are creating.
Because they are a completely privately funded film. No studio involved, so they need your help there, guys.
Yeah, they're trying to club together around about £20,000 to create the movie that they are doing, and they've got a few interesting ideas, so try to help them out as much as you can. As little as £1 can actually help them out to get this movie funded, so follow them on Twitter at Expedition Movie, and just donate to them, even if you do donate £1. Right, movie of the week, before we disappear and I lose my voice completely.
For me, it's gonna be Oblivion because I absolutely loved it, and the Blu-ray transfer is to die for.
For me, is do not watch anything that we review this week. To be honest,
you gotta pick one.
Nothing, honestly. There isn't anything out this week which I deem that should be watched.
Compliance?
Nope.
I would have said Compliance. I would have said Compliance, but I just love Oblivion. Yeah, that sounds really weird.
Compliance is a good film, but I don't deem it as movie of the week material. So yeah, there isn't anything that we reviewed this week which I deem is actually movie of the week kind of thing. So I'm chickening out. We will be back same time next week. Well, not same time because it was 7:40 before we started this week, but 7:30 hopefully next week, where we will be looking at movies including Elysium on.
Wait a minute, I was going to say, if that means, if I'm the only one who nominates a movie of the week and I nominate Oblivion, does that mean Oblivion stands unchallenged as movie of the week?
Pretty much, yeah. We'll be looking at Elysium next week in the cinema section, and movies including Olympus Has Fallen in the DVD and Blu-ray section. So until next week, here's a clip for Pain and Gain, which is out in cinemas in 2 weeks' time, but there's a preview weekend next Saturday or Sunday, and Bank Holiday Monday, if you want to go and see it early. So until next week, goodbye.
Are you currently using steroids?
No, ma'am.
When's the last time you injected?
Monday.
Yesterday. Okay.
I threw them all out. I think they messed me up.
It's okay. You probably just have defeated phallus syndrome. We treat it here all the time. But don't worry, we can change all that. That's what we specialize in here. Penis magic.